And hey guys, good morning and welcome back to an episode of Folgers and Backwards, the Mid Morning Solo Cipher. I am Ebony Jefferson, certified spiritual life coach, certified meditation teacher, herbal healer, and mentor of magic. Sending you guys much love, high vibrations, and positive energy throughout the airwaves. Blessings on making today a better day than yesterday, and blessings on blessings on utilizing today as a stepping stone for creating your best version of tomorrow. Ashe, guys, and thank you again for tuning in. So, I want to dedicate this episode to the control freak that you still live in me. And if it's a control freak that lives or lived in you, I dedicate this episode to you as well. Control is a funny thing. The need to be in control is a funny thing because most of us, when we're actively in that mindset, we don't even realize that we're trying to be in control. We don't realize that we are actively disrupting flow. I think a big part of everyone's spiritual journey, I don't think, a big part of everyone's spiritual journey is self analyzation, self realization, in hopes of growth, right? Early in my spiritual journey, when I was spending a lot of time with myself, getting to know myself, I thought of myself as a person of high faith. I believe in countless gods, goddesses, deities, you name it. I trust them. I've always trusted them. I believe I have faith in myself, my spirit team, higher self, my ancestors. This is how I saw myself up to the moment that I realized I was a control freak. And the realization was devastating because to acknowledge, to realize, to admit, and become aware that I have to actively take measures to have a desire to achieve a desired outcome means that I didn't have no faith in my team. It means that I don't have no faith in myself. It means that all this trust I have in the universe is bullshit. There's no way that I could be as faithful to the unseen as I thought I was, but yet actively, constantly feel the need to think, act, and respond in ways that would get me the result that if I had faith, real faith, I would know that I was getting anyway. So today's episode is going to get a little deep. We're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about trust. We're going to talk about intuition. And we're going to talk about control. And most importantly, how to let go, how to really and truly embody faith and trust in the universe, in your destiny, in your path that you're working consciously on, and that it will take you to your best version. Lord, I'm stuttering all over the place of life and self. So sit back, relax. I'm about to roll up. Let's get it. Let's go. Okay, so I think it'd be best for us to start by getting a little clarity on the difference between faith and trust. Though they are related in a sense, they're two separate entities, and it's important to understand the difference between the two. Faith is spiritual, it's the unseen. Faith is future focused, and doesn't require evidence, just surrender. Faith is, I don't know how, but I know it's all going to work out. As to where trust is embodied. Trust is dependent on repetition and experience. Trust isn't belief, it's knowing. Trust is that I did this before and I know I could do it again. It lives in the body, not just the mind. And what's important to remember is that faith often comes before trust. So when we step into our faith, when we honor our faith over and over, trust kind of builds naturally. Now, let's talk about control. And we're going to talk about this as a symptom and not a personality defect, right? Most people, when they think of control, they think of strength. This is why so many people don't realize that they're being a control freak or that they're taking control in areas and situations that they need to have more faith in. Excuse me. Control has nothing to do with strength and everything to do with fear. Fear often takes the disguise of control. And for many of us, control was learned as a survival technique, especially if you grew up in a household full of chaos, an inconsistent environment, or if you grew up having to over manage emotions, be it your own emotions or the emotions of others, just to keep peace and stability in household, right? Control isn't something that needs to be judged. It's something that we need to understand. So let's talk about some of the ways that control can manifest. This can be all the overs, right? Overdoing, overthinking, over planning, over explaining, right? Needing constant reassurance, forcing outcomes, holding on to situations long past expiration date. Control could even look like, well, I just care a lot. But in reality, when we try to take control over people, over situations, over outcomes, what we're actually saying is we don't trust shit to work out unless we interfere. And that doesn't make us weak, but it does say that something inside of us feels unsafe. And that's worth exploring and healing. Now, this is where intuition comes in. And I want you to think of intuition as the bridge between faith and trust. See, intuition isn't a thought, it isn't anxiety, and it's not fear dressed up as logic. Intuition is body based knowledge, calm, clear, and confident. Intuition doesn't argue with you, as where fear often comes across loud, urgent, and excessively repetitive. Intuition is the type to whisper it to you once and trust that you got it. Fear demands control. Intuition only acts for presence. And when you strengthen your intuition, be it through meditation, through journaling, through self awareness practices, you'll begin to trust yourself more. And when you truly begin to trust yourself, you realize you don't have to have so much control over everything. Or so, how do we know when we're in control mode, right? How do we identify? What are the signs? Well, you may feel anxious when things are uncertain, lack of trust. You may overthink conversations or scenarios in your mind over and over again. The need for reassurance. It can look like feeling responsible for other people's feelings. That's fear of loss or fear of disappointment. You may have that push feeling, even when you're exhausted, right? Or that push factor, excuse me, even when you're exhausted, that determination that I just have to keep trying. This lack of faith that what you did was good enough and that it's all going to work out. In our everyday relationships, right? You may find yourself constantly checking your phone, looking for responses, replies, likes on a post. Maybe you're overgiving to secure a connection with someone, be it of your money, time, or your resources. Do you adjust yourself to be chosen or to fit in better with others? See, all of this is a form of control, and it manifests in so many different areas. With money, it can be obsessing over the amount of bills, but yet making no changes to spending habits. Or, like we talked about last week, manifesting through a big ritual, but making no real life steps to securing that bag, right? Even in spirituality, people take control in the form of looking for signs, 1111, angel numbers, right? But they never take time to listen to the voice within. See, control will keep you busy, but it will not keep you aligned. So, how do we catch ourselves? How do we begin to let go of fear? Does letting go mean fuck it, just do nothing? Of course not. Letting go means doing less from fear and more out of alignment. And the best way that I know how to do that is to just pause and breathe. Take a moment and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And what am I afraid will happen if I don't control this? Right? Then take a moment to see where you feel that in your body. I know me personally, a lot of my fears are felt in my gut and in my face. Maybe I'll share more with that in another story. But actually talk to yourself, right? And more importantly, listen to yourself when you respond. It may come across as like a little tingling sensation. It may come across as a bit of nausea or tenseness, but your body will respond. So when you catch yourself, right, doing one of those cues, when you catch yourself in control mode, take a minute to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of is going to happen if I'm not in control? And just take a deep breath. If you're in a safe space, close your eyes and allow your body to actually answer the question for you. And once you've identified your fears, guys, trust me on this. Give your fear a name. There is so much power in a name. And when you give your fear a name, it diminishes its power. It's a label, it keeps it small, right? So it can be fear of abandonment, it can be fear of inadequacy, it can be fear of being alone, fear of not being good enough. Identify it name it, and take away its power. And once you've taken away the power of your fears, you can begin to re anchor yourself in true divine trust. And like I said before, trust usually comes after faith. And once you diminish the power of fear, you now can begin to experience faith, tapping into flow, true belief that you can, you are, and that you will. And through repetition of this faith, right? Be it through affirmations, be it through meditation, journaling, right? Open conversations with others, sharing and building, helping and healing. Through these acts, you'll begin to genuinely trust yourself. Yeah, I don't know what today is going to hold, but what I do know is I'm strong enough to survive. I know that I am favored enough to walk out of it with my head held high. You begin to realign yourself with your best version of life and self through ease, through faith and trust, not fear, not control, right? Letting go is a practice, not a one time decision. And I want to wrap this up by saying that faith is believing and trust is knowing. Letting go of control, now that's choosing peace over fear. So remember, you don't have to have a grip on life for it to meet you. You don't have to force what's meant to flow, and you don't have to control the outcome just to ensure that you're safe. I hope this resonates. I thank you guys for watching, and as always, much love, much ashe, and namaste. Later, guys.